Yo, what's good, family? And aloha from Oahu. This is supposed to be day 13 of 30 days sober in Oahu. But first, I'm going to keep it real with y'all. Today is actually the 9th of August. So technically, this should be, the day 20 of 30 days sober. So I know I'm a week behind on posting, but it's because I've been dealing with this nasty knee infection, y'all. It doesn't look as bad as it did before, but I don't know what I got bit by. But it started on Sunday of last week, and it got really bad the following day. So Monday, it got so swollen that it was like very painful for me to walk on. So like the prideful Samoan that I am, I waited another day hoping that the swelling would go down, but it didn't. It went up. So I visited the hospital. The doctor believes it was either a centipede or a spider bite that turned into like a staph infection. And if y'all didn't know, centipedes are one of the worst things to get bitten by and are really common out here in Hawaii. So yeah, something for y'all tourists to look forward to when y'all come out here. So yeah, it was painful to walk on, and it gave me a little fever. So I've been on antibiotics and sleeping a lot, but it's taking me out of a lot of my schedule, whether it be workouts, even the moving job, and most importantly, posting content. So a lot of really big setbacks. But, the good news is I've documented each day. So I'll be as transparent with my day-to-day successes and struggles while I continue this series of childhood trauma. And the goal is to be, up to date by the 16th, which is your boy's birthday. My 36th birthday, to be exact. So I think what will also help me catch up on videos is that I won't really go to the details of my day-to-day unless it's significant, but because I've been sleeping so much, every day has been, consistently the same, and I'm still struggling with cigarettes and eating a lot of sugar. Porn, not so much, because it's been an issue just charging my phone, so that's a plus. And I really haven't watched porn since, my last recording, so yeah. But, I'll continue to update y'all as I catch up on my posting. And also, I just want to take the time to thank everyone who's poured their love and support through the comments, likes, and subscribing to the channel. I'm more than double my subscribers since the start of this healing journey. So it means a lot to me to know that you guys support the channel and support the journey. And so thank y'all for your patience during this time, because it's been hard for me to kind of reset everything. But let's get right into it. To start off this episode, I think the biggest reason why it's taken me almost 36 years of my life to really share my story in this way is I think it's really hard just for men to open up about their traumas, period, because of the way we've been indoctrinated through this toxic masculine ideology that colonization has built around Christianity. That's my sociologist's definition. But continue childhood trauma part 3. I do have to warn y'all that this episode will be triggering, and if you don't want to disturb your testimony in Christ, then this will be difficult for the ears as well. So it's also one of the hardest traumas for me to share, because it was one of the ones that I was going to take to the grave. So yeah, a lot to unpack. So I want to first set the stage when I became open about this particular trauma with family, and what gives me the confidence to actually share it with y'all. It's also one of the main dominoes that really led me to my spiritual journey, eventually leaving the Mormon church. So, like I said, buckle up, y'all. Y'all gonna learn something today, all right? But to start, I want to share first what caused me to open up about this particular trauma. And the simple answer was weed, all right? Without getting too deep on weed, because I'll save that story for another video. I started smoking late in my 20s because I didn't want weed to affect my confidence throughout my football career. And I didn't really hang up my cleats until I was 26, 27. But yeah, when I started smoking, it was after getting through that, paranoia effect of the high, I found myself really sitting with my thoughts a lot. And of course, a lot of my childhood trauma started to resurface. This one in particular happened to be one of them. So that's honestly why weed has been the hardest thing for me to kick, because it's helped me more than it's hurt me. But like I said, I'll save that for another video. Now, if you haven't watched Childhood Trauma Part 1, I go into being sexually assaulted by a black girl named Kimberly, who made me give her oral twice. But right around that same time, I gave and received the same oral experience with a boy who happened to be our friend at the time. And because I buried this memory, I felt more like it was a bad dream throughout my weed trips. And because of my weed trips, I triggered what I now call my spiritual awakening moment back in 2001. And it became clear that this wasn't a bad dream. I was able to really kind of almost experience it firsthand again. But it was the only homosexual experience I had, and we ended up moving not too long afterwards. But unfortunately, we moved in with the same black family where I was SA'd, and my SA experience with Kimberly continued. So yeah, that was unfortunate. But before I continue, to help y'all process this information, I want y'all to know that I didn't become confused with my sexuality after this. All right, I was actually, I was solidified with my straight identity. I didn't even know what I had done, and like, I didn't even know it was a sexual act at the time. I had to figure it out because I had to figure out what sex was on my own, because in the Samoan culture, it's actually taboo to talk about sex. So yeah, but you know what gives me the confidence to start sharing this trauma was when I started opening up to family and close friends during my spiritual awakening. I realized that my experience wasn't rare. And when I started sharing, many of them began sharing their homosexual traumas. And that's why it's important for me to start sharing mine, all right? So my homosexual trauma obviously stemmed from my SA experience. And in my own way, I guess I was trying to make sense of it all, like through my ignorance of not knowing. But yeah, that's unfortunately not the truth of those who opened up about their traumas with me. So love and light to all y'all who still struggle to get clarity, but it's never your fault, all right? So yeah, continuing on with the story, it's around this same time frame where my older brother Taurus, who's like he's a year older than me, he wanted to chill with our older sister a lot. And I remember her telling him to, get your own friends. And it was her who said, it was gay of him to want to hang out with girls all the time. And this was one of the first times I actually realized what the term gay meant. I also looked to our eldest sibling, Aries, and attributed a lot of my characteristics from him, because he was the most consistent masculine role model I had at the time. And when he would reference, anything that was feminine as gay, it was his opinion that really mattered most to me because of how much I looked up to him. My second oldest brother was Virgo, which is Virgo, was hard to really connect with because he was more like my bully growing up. So yeah. And then the next brother in line was Taurus. And so because Taurus struggled with his sexuality, which he's openly gay now, but he had a struggle with finding himself throughout our childhood. And I didn't make it any easier because I was one of his biggest bullies growing up. Yeah, I became the bully and the rebellious child in my family because I felt like I harbored a lot of that deep anger and resentment towards my family because of what I went through. And so yeah, I just knew exactly what to say to get under your skin, So I was like the roaster in the family. I was the natural comedian, but I also got into I got the most ass whoopings, and I got into the most fights because of it. But now as an adult, I realized that homophobia and the toxic masculinity stems from our heavy Christian upbringing, because mom grew up Catholic, dad grew up Baptist, and for some reason they decided to baptize us Mormon. I don't know why. That's like the most strict Christian religion that they could put us in. But the joke in my mind was mom was like just too scared to avoid the missionaries because she didn't want to turn down God's people. And I wonder why Mormon over and not Jehovah's Witness, because they're both consistent with the Knox, right? But then, you know, when I realized that Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate birthdays or Halloween, I'm glad I was a Mormonite, all right? But yeah, Taurus and I became heavily involved in this religion, and my testimony actually grew more because of how much Taurus became more masculine during this process. Fast forward in our teens, because Aries got incarcerated, which I'll get into another video, but it caused Mom to move us all back to California. And when I was 16, she ended up giving us up to our dad, because she had to help out her mom with land in Samoa. So it was like around this time where Taurus tried coming out to Dad, and that's when Dad said the ultimate, "No son of mine would be gay," which funny for him to say, considering he was absent most of our life, you know, most of our childhood actually. And because Taurus was like around 17 or 18 at the time, he decided to go on a Mormon mission to quote unquote wash the gay away. Out of all places he was called to serve, it was actually in Samoa. So yeah, he was able to see Mom during this time, and he's also the one who knows our native tongue better than any of us. You know, after his mission though, he came out here to PCC here in Hawaii, and because, you know, Polynesian dancing requires a mixture of both masculine and feminine energy, he became more in tune with his feminine energy, and actually got the confidence to come out on Facebook on April Fool's Day of all days as a joke. But everybody congratulated him, and he actually took the opportunity to come out. That was in a Lowe's warehouse, pushing my daughter, looking at tools while I was doing school at Colorado State. And I remember talking to him and asking him, you know, I remember asking him over the phone, I was like, "Bro, is it for real? Are you for real? Are you coming out?" And I just remember him saying, "Yo, I'll put it this way, bro. I'd rather go to hell being someone I am than going to heaven being someone I'm not." And you know, that statement hit me real hard, because I remember telling him, "Bro, you did 2 years for that God. Something we all didn't do. And so if you don't think that you will be accepted in that heaven, motherfucker, then I ain't got a chance, right?" Because, you know, I feel like I attribute my immediate support due to like the guilt I felt for being one of his biggest bullies growing up. And you know, I know he struggled with accepting his true nature because of people like me, and that's what started my departure from the Mormon church. You know what's funny is, it's not really funny, but it's my bullying experience with Taurus that's giving me the opportunity to hold space for some of the Mahus out here that I've been recently around, and which I'm really good friends with a couple of them. But one of them asked me if I was into him or her, or him, her, and I told them, you know, I'm straight, you know, and him, her was like, "Well, how do you know you're not gay?" And I'm like, I told him, her, you know the saying, "Try it, you might like it." Yeah, nah. All right, I tried it, didn't like it. And what's crazy is him, her never even tried female. And I'm like, how do you know you're not straight? And, you know, they said, it's because I love Boto. I was like, well, as long as you respect that it's not going to be this Boto, we good. So, you know, him, her is more like bro sis to me now. But yeah, back to religion. I started to question everything. Like, why do Polynesian people embrace the mixed gender more than the church? You know, that took me down a spiral researching that built my hungry for culture journey, because I do believe in a higher power. But being a parent now, I think it's important that we build some kind of grounding with community, and that's exactly what culture does. You know, one thing I know about my Samoan culture is that it supersedes religion. You know, for example, Mormonites believe you should cover up certain parts of your body with temple garments, but at the PCC, the kids are able to embrace their culture and identify with our traditional attires. So yeah, and before our people were colonized, we always embraced the third gender. So if you research specific island cultures, every Pacific island had a third gender because they all had labels for them. You know, the Tongans called them Whakalaitis, The Hawaiians and Tahitians call them Mahus. You know, that's straight off the head, but the list goes on. So, in our interpretation, we believe that Christianity has created this stigma around the third gender and made us look at gender in more of a black and white understanding with no in between, while we as Samoans and my neighboring Pacific Islanders believe it's the Fa'afafine energy that brings color to our lives. And I think that's beautiful. The Fa'afafine energy plays an important role in our society because they're able to help bridge the divide between the two polar opposites, you know. As for Christianity, specifically Mormon, it's against all of that, which is why I'll put another domino piece that made me leave, all right? You see, the Mormon church has this saying that it's the true church of Jesus Christ. And when I read into the Bhagavad Gita, which is another powerful book on the Hindu religion, it states that that which is real never changes, right? Now, I'm going to interchange the word real for true because this is my interpretation of this message. So the same can be true saying that which is true never changes, right? And so I remember my half-black cousin who went on his mission. Before he went on his mission, I remember asking him, like, how the Mormon church used to acknowledge black people, which they weren't allowed to have like a priesthood at one point, and they were considered less than. And he was like, yeah, it's just one of those things. And it's funny because it wasn't until 1978 where the prophet had this revelation, very convenient after Jim Crow laws, that ended that. But now with this whole fight against LGBT, I wonder what revelation will come up after, because if they've changed their doctrines before, they can change them again. And that which is true never changes, right? And that's why I believe that saying is false, right? Because if the Mormon church was a true church, it should have stayed true and never changed from the beginning, right? They should have acknowledged black people since the start of the church. Aside from that, Christianity is one of the religions that struggles with understanding the third gender the most, because look at how many pedos they've created. There's a lot of gay people hiding in priest clothing, all right? In fact, one of the biggest lawsuits against the Catholic Church happened in Alaska, where in 2011, the church had to pay out $166 million to families who suffer from sexual trauma from their clergies. Yeah, look it up, y'all. And that's just in one state and one religion. But let me share the top 3 religions known for the highest SA cases, which is the Roman Catholic Church, Protestant denomination, which is like Southern Baptist, and Jehovah's Witness, which don't they all believe in Christ? You see why this Christ character doesn't make sense in the eyes of these Christian religions? And I'm not even going to get into how many people were unalived in the name of Jesus Christ, all right? Like the conquistadors and those people in that Apocalypto movie, was it based off a true story? Anyway, like, how are y'all trying to spread the word of being Christ-like by doing un-Christ-like things? And anyways, that's why I'm grateful for my Rainbow Sheep brother, Taurus, because it's through his energy that's helped me unpack a lot of my toxic masculine traits and honestly become a better parent for my daughter after her mom died, because I have to learn how to balance out both roles. I have to learn how to balance out masculine and feminine energy. So to help me navigate that, my brother did that a lot. And by the way, all of us have both energies in us, but it's based on the social structures that we abide by that create the distinction of how we use those energies, whether good or bad. And what I just spoke on Christianity, it's why I don't believe it's conducive to us as human beings, because of how the third gender is seen as a sin. So because the Mormon church doesn't embrace my brother's energy, that is the biggest domino that gave me the confidence to leave the Mormon faith and Christianity, period. All right. So before ending today's episode, I do want to share that, if you made it this far, thank you. because these experiences of my life, it's not about showing my best, y'all. It's really about learning from my worst. And I truly believe that, because it's what I feel is helping me heal that inner child who just wanted to be understood. Man, I just really appreciate it. I also hope that those who can relate to my traumas, to know that you're not alone. And this is, there's someone like me going through it all and explaining it. Going through it and explaining it all. So, thank you for sharing your energy with me as more new people follow the journey. I hope y'all don't take it personal if I don't respond to every comment because of the difficulties with charging my phone. But I do want to add that my purpose of putting my story on a platform as big as YouTube is to create a safe place for y'all to share your stories. I invite y'all who resonate with each other's to let them know in the comments that they're not alone either. So yeah, I open every video by addressing y'all as my family, and that's exactly what I want out of this. The saying is, if you don't like the family you come from, create one. And that's the purpose of Elevated Paradise. In fact, I wanted to share that Elevated is spelled with my name Ellie in it, but because I'm sharing my journey, I'm hoping to elevate an awareness that you're not alone in this thing called life. And paradise is spelled with dice to embrace the double entendre of pair of dice, because we didn't choose the families we were born into. We didn't ask for the positive and negative things that's happened in our lives, and that's our personal gamble with life. And whatever paradise you want in life is based off of those dice rolls that we've experienced throughout our childhood. And that's the purpose of this platform. So thank y'all again for being part of this journey. With that being said, I'll end it here, and if any of this resonates, again, feel free to share in the comments. Give it a like if you are, just don't feel like sharing anything. And at least, at the bare minimum, please subscribe to help get this platform to where I'm hoping it to reach. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate you, and look for the next video. Mahalo from Hawaii, y'all. Yes, sir.